Much of what is taught in modern corporate finance courses is twaddle.
Berkshire Hathaway has been ran by the legendary Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger for decades now. This is a clip from one of their annual meetings, and they were asked, how many stocks should you own in your portfolio? So let's see the response.
We have positions which you don't even see because we only listed the ones above 600 million in the last report, and obviously those are all smaller positions. Sometimes that's because they're smaller companies and we couldn't get that much money in. Sometimes it's because the prices moved up after we bought them. And sometimes it's because we may be selling the position down even. But so there's nothing magic. We like to put a lot of money in things that we feel strongly about. And that gets back to the diversification question. We think diversification is, as practiced generally, makes very little sense for anyone that knows what they're doing. Diversification is a protection against ignorance. I mean, if you want to make sure
quote that
nothing bad happens to you relative to the market, you own everything. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that is a perfectly sound approach for somebody who does not feel they know how to analyze businesses.
Okay, yeah, so what he's saying, there are the elite professionals like Warren, where if they take that time to really dive in, then for them, diversification doesn't make much sense, because if they're diving in and really understanding their few core businesses, then they will outperform like that. Take someone that does not spend their whole day studying and figuring out what their next investment should be. For them, diversification is a great way to go. But for someone like Warren that can really understand business and make those correct buy and sell decisions, he's saying diversification is a mistake.
If you know how to analyze businesses and value businesses, it's crazy to own 50 stocks or 40 stocks or 30 stocks probably, because there aren't that many wonderful businesses that are understandable to a single human being in all likelihood, and to have some super wonderful business and then put money in number 30 or 35 on your list of attractiveness and forego putting more money into number 1 just strikes Charlie and me as madness. And it's conventional practice, and it may, if all you have to achieve is average, it may preserve your job, but it's a confession in our view that you don't really understand the businesses that you own.
It's lately in the last 20 years, last 10 years, a lot of funds, they simply just buy the S&P 500, right? So people are paying a fee, 1% or more, 2%, and they're paying that every year when all they're doing is just paying someone else to just buy the S&P 500, right? When they could have just done that themselves. So, I mean, how many people are losing out on that 1 or 2% every year? And over a lifetime, 40 years building up to retirement, that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars left out at that time of retirement. And people would be better off just buying the S&P 500 themselves. And that is what so many people do. I think in that sense, education has gotten better, where people are aware that instead of paying a 1%, 2% fee to someone else, they can just buy the S&P 500 and boom, they're diversified. But not everyone knows that. There's still plenty of rich people that go out and pay that fee every year, and they're worse off than if they just bought the S&P 500 themselves.
On a personal portfolio basis, I own one stock, but it's a business I know, and it leaves me very comfortable. So, do I need to own 28 stocks in order to have proper diversification? It'd be nonsense. And within Berkshire, I could pick out 3 of our businesses, and I would be very happy if they were the only businesses we owned and I had all my money in Berkshire. Now, I love it, the fact that we can find more than that and that we keep adding to it. But 3 wonderful businesses is more than you need in this life to do very well. And the average person isn't going to run into that. I mean, if you look at how the fortunes were built in this country, they weren't built out of a portfolio of 50 companies. They were built by someone who identified with a wonderful business. Coca-Cola is a great example. A lot of fortunes have been built on that. And there aren't 50 Coca-Colas. There aren't 20. If there were, it'd be fine. We could all go out and diversify like crazy among that group and get results that would be equal to owning the really wonderful one. But you're not going to find it. And the truth is, you don't need it. I mean, if you have a really wonderful business, is very well protected against the vicissitudes of the economy over time and the competition. I mean, we're talking about businesses that are resistant to effective competition, and 3 of those will be better than 100 average businesses, and they'll be safer, incidentally. I mean, there is less risk in owning 3 easy to identify wonderful businesses than there is in owning 50 well-known big businesses. And
one part of the equation in investing is that risk side, and that's why people diversify, is to reduce that risk. What Warren is saying here is that it can be a mistake to rely on diversification as your risk management. It is instead better to have an in-depth understanding of 1, 2, or 3 companies, and your understanding of them will tell you that they are great, reliable companies that you can hold on to. And also your understanding of it, if you have that understanding, then if something changes where they are no longer such a great company that has those protections against the macroeconomics, then you'll be able to adjust and get out if needed. The key is really to have a handful of great companies that you understand in depth and can make those decisions.
It's amazing what has been taught over the years in finance classes about that, but I can assure you that I would rather pick, if I had to bet the next 30 years on the fortunes of my family that would be dependent upon the income from a given group of businesses, I would rather pick 3 businesses from those we own than own a diversified group of 50. Charlie?
Yeah, what he's saying is that much of what is taught in modern corporate finance courses is twaddle.
Do you want to elaborate on that, Charlie?
Charlie always takes this big pause after he says something.
You cannot believe this stuff. I mean, it's modern portfolio theory, and yeah, it
has no utility. But I mean, it will tell you how to do average. But I think anybody can figure out how to do average in 5th grade. I mean, it's just not that difficult, and it's elaborate, and there's lots of little Greek letters and all kinds of things to make you feel that you're in the big leagues. But there is no value added.
I have great difficulty with it because I am something of a student of dementia, and I have.
Yeah, we hang around a lot together.
And I can ordinarily classify dementia, on some theory structure of models, but the modern portfolio theory, it involves a type of dementia I just can't even classify. Something very strange is going on.
How great is it that at the age that these two are, right in their 90s, that they can have so much joy and still maintain such brilliance when it comes to investing and their ability to articulate their ideas. This is the goal in life, is to be able to be at that age and be like them, and still be so competent and ready to make the crowd laugh and inform them and bring joy into their life. Unfortunately, Charlie had passed away a few years ago. But Warren is still kicking. He's still going. He's still running Berkshire. And, what a great company he had built over many decades. So Charlie here was clearly talking about business school and finance courses. So I have my master's in business administration. So I had classes in that, and also I did finance and economics for my bachelor's. So I had plenty of classes in that. And there were clashing ideas. There were the teachers that taught the modern monetary theory, and that's just part of the curriculum, and it's just not entirely correct. And I was thankful to have other teachers that understood what Charlie and Warren are saying here, is that diversification is not the answer. That is not what is going to make you rich, unless you're willing to hold that 30, 40, 50 years. Then yes, you will. If you can continue to contribute monthly, weekly, then over the last 100 years, that market has continued to go up, and that will make you rich over time. If you're wanting to get rich in a more timely manner, then you have to really understand a handful of great companies and be able to make decisions on those, and that is what will make you rich. One of those teachers was named Quint Tatro. He was a professor at UK. He's been on CNBC, and he's the managing director at Tatro Capital, and he's also the CIO of Jewel Capital. And those were lessons that he was giving me that I can apply for a lifetime. And so I'm thankful to him for that. He has a podcast, DIY Money Podcast, and a YouTube, and I'll link that into the description if you're interested.
Yeah. If you find three wonderful businesses in your life, you'll get very rich. And if you understand them, bad things aren't going to happen to those three. I mean, that's the characteristic of it.
By the way, maybe that's the reason there's so much dementia. If you believe what Warren said, you could teach the whole course in about a week.
Yeah. Yeah, and the high priest wouldn't have any edge over the lay people, and that never sells well.
Right.
So that's all I wanted to show today. Thank you so much to Warren and Charlie for giving these gems of wisdom for so long and helping so many people improve their financial positions. That's all I have. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.